coming to me in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, and go whatever time it is, and welcome to another episode of TREVANTINE, the podcast in which you get to hear the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of an 18-year-old senior in high school being affected by the coronavirus. In this podcast, we have 3 different segments. 1, how corona is affecting us. 2, what are the headlines for today. And 3, what I am doing for today. It's been so long, I almost forgot my process and how I do this podcast. But today is April 27th, 2020. We're going into week 5 or 6. I'm pretty sure it's week 5, according to our football coach, week 5 of quarantine. And life is still carrying on. We're still living life, and I'm still breathing, and I'm not sick. So I would say I'm pretty well. I just got back from a camping trip. I went down to the Dunes being aka Waynoka, Oklahoma, and that was such a blast just to go down and stretch our legs finally. But I'll talk about that a little later in this podcast. Right now, I think we should be talking about the headlines, so we can get right into that segment where we talk about today's headlines. I do not have a guest today because I want to talk about my trip to the Dunes and how that whole thing went down. So let's go right into the headlines. Coming from the New York Times, as of 30 minutes ago, we see that businesses reopen in some states, but conflicting messages stoke confusion. Colorado, Minnesota, Mississippi said on Monday that they would join a handful of states that are beginning to reopen their economies shut down by the coronavirus. Many business owners and customers said that they were baffled by the blizzard of confusing rules and guidances from local counties, states, governments, and the national government on whether they should reopen their doors or not. Many states, such as New York, are considering a gradual restart, allowing low-risk businesses to open up. It's definitely something that it's a struggle right now. Everyone wants to go back to their normal life, but we're just now reaching that peak, which will be discussed later when we hit that headline. The next headline we have is applications for small business loans reopen as problem with the last cash infusions are revealed. They say that the economic rescue package that President Trump signed into law last month included a $349 billion in low-interest loans for small businesses. The so-called Paycheck Protection Program was supposed to help prevent small companies, generally those with 500 employees or fewer in the United States, from capsizing as the economy shrinks into what looks like a severe recession. But the program has been riddled with problems. Within days, the money ran out, prompting Congress to approve an additional $310 billion in funding that will reopen the applications on Monday. Countless small businesses were shut out, even as large companies received tens of millions of dollars in aid. Banks and economists are already warning that the new pot of money will be depleted possibly by the end of the day, and part of many companies were already in queue before the money ran out. So basically what was happening is there was this large backup. There's hundreds, thousands of businesses all across the United States, and whenever we have an issue like this where we're handing out money and companies like this need aid, that's going to be a big thing, is because there's no way we're going to be able to pay everything, and a lot of companies could be considered small even if they are a larger corporation. And it's that blurred line on what's considered a small company, what's considered a big company. But we're trying to figure that out right now. And apparently, that stimulus, 310, what was it, billion or trillion? Yeah, $1 billion in funding might deplete by the end of the day. That says a lot about how many companies we have in the United States and how much this COVID-19 business has been really impacting us. The next headline we have is the CDC expands its list of symptoms. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has added 6 possible symptoms for the coronavirus to the list, a step that reflects the broad variation of unpredictability and the way that the illness can affect individual patients. Echoing in observations of doctors treating with thousands of individual patients in this pandemic, the Federal Health Agency and the month has changed on its website the following symptoms as possible indicators of COVID-19. chills, repeated shaking with chills, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, and a loss of taste or smell. Previously, it only listed 3 symptoms: a fever, cough, and shortness of breath, but the CDC had made no public announcement when it made the 6 new symptom changes on its website on April 18th. The agency did not immediately respond to the question about its revised list. All of those symptoms sound like flu symptoms or even allergies. I you get headaches all the time. I get sinus headaches right now because all these allergies, and then the time is changing. So, might have COVID. What's the deal there? And it's it's definitely a blurred line that people are going to be confused about, and something that's going to be even more confusing because I don't want to say those symptoms are very broad. I feel like the dry cough and then the wheezing was a little more specific, but I don't know. Saying someone having potentially having a headache could mean that you have COVID is a big thing. Muscle pain, I don't know. You experience muscle pain. I don't know. At least I do, for no reason at all. Sore throat, loss of taste. Now I could see that being something, but that could also be, your nose are stuffed up and you just can't smell the food that you're eating, so you don't really taste it. Does that mean you have COVID? Who knows? Who knows? Next headline we have is that the White House canceled Monday's daily briefing with the task force. It said the White House canceled its daily coronavirus briefing that had listed on the schedule as Monday, as Mr. Trump continued to complain about the news coverage of his handling of the pandemic. The president spent much of the weekend railing on Twitter about the new news media, including attacks against the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and even Fox News, as they did not meet either reporters on Saturday or Sunday, saying that the briefings were not worth his time and effort. With this new age of social media and the ability to spread news like this in an instant, of course, not everyone's going to want to talk to the media or talk to the press. The press likes to blow things up. I'm reading this from the New York Times, and there's so many headlines that I had to skim over just because it's major clickbait. And you read some of these headlines and you're like, ooh, this is interesting. You click on the article and it's about something completely different, and then it's completely wrong and not how it's said on the paper, on the headline. So I see where he's coming from. I'm just saying. Next headline we have is that the stocks start the week higher as oil prices tumble. It says the U.S. stocks rose, the global market I can't read. U.S. stocks rose and the global market rallied on Monday as governments around the world discussed when and how to reopen businesses on their economic track. It says, but the turmoil in the oil markets continue as the price of U.S. benchmark crude oil tumbling by more than 20%. The S&P 500 opened less than 1% in early tradings this morning, as European stocks and trading was about 2% higher after a broadly higher day in Asia. Crude oil is just going to keep crashing. I know on my way down to Oklahoma, I saw some really, really low gas prices. I mean, I'm talking, I just dropped my pen. I'm talking like $1.39. That is crazy to see. As a couple years ago, gas was $4. That was at its peak, and that was one time when we were trying to go down to the dunes. Ironic, but gas was cheap, and it blew my mind. Next headline we have, and last headline we have, is kind of a gloomy one, but it says known global deaths surpass 200,000 people, and the U.S. will soon pass 50,000. But the real toll is still a mystery. It says the pandemic has now killed more than 200,000 people and has sickened more than 2.9 million people worldwide. According to the data collected by the New York Times, at least 177 countries have been reported with cases of COVID-19. In the disease caused by this virus. The United States has the largest known outbreak with more than 950,000 cases and a death toll approaching 50,000 people. Europe has also been hit hard, and there's been more than 26,000 deaths among the 197,000 known cases in Italy, and more than 23,000 deaths among the 207,000 in Spain. The only two other countries that have confirmed more than 20,000 cases or 20,000 deaths are France with 22,800 and Britain, who has crossed that line on Saturday. Germany and Turkey both have outbreaks with more than 100,000 cases, but their official death tolls are lower. Not a great headline to end on, but on brighter news, I can start talking about why I've been gone and why we haven't been having TREVANTINE for a while, and that was because I went down to the dunes. It was a great time. So much fun. We my dad and I, we just needed to stretch our legs. We've been in the house cooped up for the last 5-6 weeks or so, and it was just time to get out. And in Oklahoma, where we went to a little place called Waynoka, Oklahoma, home of the Little Sahara Sand Dunes state park kind of thing. And basically it's just like this big sand dunes place, big. If you think about it, it's just a sandbox. But yeah, we went down there, and we've been here in our house every day doing the same exact thing. And we both agreed that we are just tired of looking at the screens. And one of his high school friends was like, hey, you want to go down to the dunes? And we're like, yeah, we want to go down to the dunes. So all week last week we're prepping, we got ready for it, we got the trailer out, we got all the food and stuff we needed. And on Thursday at noon, we set sail. That's why I didn't have a TREVANTINE on Thursday or Friday. But we went down to Waynoka, Oklahoma through the Kansas Turnpike, and we went on our 6-hour journey. And it was different. It was not like any other time we've ever gone down to the dunes. So every time we go down to the dunes, we usually will wake up at like 5 a.m. We'll leave by 6 and try and get down there before noon or so. Well, the problem with that is you would have morning traffic. So once you got into the turnpike, the Kansas Turnpike, there'd be just a lot of people there and a lot of people on the road. All the pit stops would be full because everyone wants breakfast, everyone needs to get gas, and it was just a madhouse, And then we'd usually end up getting there around 1 p.m., 2 p.m. because of all the stops we had to make, and just everybody kind of like slowing you down. Well, this trip we went down to the dunes on the Kansas Turnpike. It was like dead, bro. Like, of course there's cars, there's still truckers going through, there's still people going to work, but it was dead. There wasn't like anyone on the turnpike, not like it used to be. And it was bizarre to see, excuse me, because we were going down, we were trucking along. We get to about the third rest stop, and we're like, hey, let's pull over, get some gas. We're low on gas, and then let's see if this McDonald's is open, because we hadn't eaten lunch at that point. And we pull up to the truck stop. And if you don't know how the turnpike works, it's like you go down, and it goes all the way down to Wichita, and then the turnpike ends, and then you can just keep going, and we go down into Oklahoma that way. Well, there's these pit stops all the way through, and there's like, I don't know, 7 of them, 8 of them, all the way through out the entire turnpike. And we were going down the turnpike, and we get to about the third one, and we're like, okay, we need some gas now. So we stop, go get some gas. We walk into the little bathroom, and I was waiting in line to use the restroom because I walked in there and I was like, oh, there's a lot of people in there, and everyone's wearing their masks and gloves and stuff. So we were too. And it was just nice. It was nice to see people again. Even though that was a bathroom, it was kind of an odd situation. But I was waiting outside the bathroom. Some guy comes up to me and was like, hey, have they changed the laws here in Kansas yet? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. And he says, oh, I'm from Omaha. And, it's been very lax, not very lax, been very strict. They're opening up golf courses and stuff now. And me and this guy just had a conversation about how we've been treated differently. Not treated differently. How each state has been like reacting differently, and just each way they've been trying to combat this issue. And there's a lot of differences, and I think that's one of the interesting things about not coronavirus, but federalism, and that's how different each state has been trying to combat this. Like, how I just read that article about like Mississippi, Minnesota, they're opening up businesses again. It's different because they're opening up, and we're still waiting behind. And here in Kansas City, and I don't know, it was intriguing, but I said goodbye. We got back on the road. We went into the McDonald's. So the McDonald's had like, you could either do the drive-through, or you could walk in and talk to the people. And I walked in and talked to the people, but there was like no one in there. They had all the feet like taped down to the floor. It had the lines and stuff. And we went through, and I got my quarter pounder. My dad got his cheeseburgers. We went back into the truck. We ate, and then, whoa, my bad, we hit the road again. So that was definitely an odd experience. When we're getting gas too, it was like, previously it used to be like a line of 3 cars, and you just have to wait in that line until everyone comes through. But in this case, it was like we just pulled right up to the gas pump, and it was super intriguing. So we got gas, we made it down, we went all the way down to Oklahoma, and then once you start getting into Oklahoma, we start driving through these small towns. Like there's a small town called Caldwell, Jet, Medford, South Haven. South Haven's still in Kansas, but we get through all these small towns, and no one is acting like anything's wrong. And I can see that, like it makes sense with a small town. How many people are really leaving or going out? And then if it's a small town, everyone knows each other. So unless you go on a vacation and then come back, there's kind of a low risk of you spreading it around. But yeah, we go through all these towns. No one's wearing masks, no one's wearing gloves, and then we get down to Waynoka. Waynoka, small town. What's the population of Waynoka? Waynoka, Oklahoma. Let's see. Population, I believe, is relatively low. Yeah, 915 people as of 2018. And we went down into Waynoka, and first thing we did is we went to the gas station there. We filled up, and dude, they didn't think anything was wrong. Like everyone's just still talking to everyone. Everyone's just chilling. And then we head down the road. The campsite and then where the gas place is like 2 miles away. So we drive down to the campsite. We get down to the campsite, and oh my lord, that place was packed. And it was just like, what the heck? Aren't we? We're in a global pandemic. Everyone's supposed to be staying at home right now. And it was like, nah. Everyone was just still out. Everyone was still partying. Everyone was still talking to each other. But we pull up, and then we get stuck behind the sheriff or the park ranger or some sort of authority figure down there. He was talking to a bunch of people at the campsites on both sides. So we stopped his truck, got out, and started talking to everyone. I'm like, that would be a no from where I'm from, but I'll let them do their thing. And we were just chilling, we're waiting for them, and this dude was talking, literally going around to everyone, and it was just like, huh, interesting, because you don't know who's sick down here. And it was like, okay. But we get through, the sheriff eventually leaves. We start talking to those people, and then we're like, here's the thing about this entire trip, and this is just a pause from the story, is that you're kind of worried about the virus, but when you're down at the dunes, it's not like you're on top of everyone. You're not walking around talking to people at campsites. You're staying with your group. And for my group, it was me, my dad, his high school friend, and then his family. And it was just like 6 of us, right? Not a big deal. We were just talking. We sat around our campfire the entire time. But to get back on the story, we started talking to these people, and they're like, I was a little worried about this too. But when you think about it, you're not in a large group of people. Sure, that entire place, that whole campsite was full. Even the state park was full. On Saturday, dude, there were, I'm not even kidding you, trailers lined up like all the way down the roads and stuff. Just people that were wanting to ride that day. And it was super cool. But apparently in Oklahoma, all their state parks and all their parks are still open, so you can go camping just about anywhere, I believe. So Waynoka was still open. The sand dunes were still open, and we went duning. But we eventually pulled into the campsite. We got set up. We started chilling. We went on a couple rides. If you don't know, when we go down to Waynoka, Oklahoma, we go down and ride like side-by-sides, razors, four-wheelers. If you don't know what those are, let me see if I can pull up a picture of it. I should be able to pull a picture of it. But anyways, we go down and ride, and we'll ride these four-wheelers, and we'll just have a nice dandy time. And we went on some rides, but since it was so packed out there, it was kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of sucked, because you had all these big ruts, you had all these big people, big sand rails and stuff that are just kind of getting your way, and they got my way, and then they just they didn't let me thrive. So let me open this up real quick. I actually got this going, but let me just show you some pictures of my trip. So this is different. This is a different style. I've never really done this in TREVANTINE, but like these are some like pictures I took. It's very sandy. It's just really a large sand pit. Here's a four-wheeler. Here's the four-wheeler I was riding the entire trip. It's a Yamaha Raptor 700, and that thing can get up, man. But yeah, we just rode around. I know I took some pictures of some dunes in here. Here we go. This is a great picture. Little underexposed, I'm not gonna lie, but just like, this is what the dunes is. And it's just a bunch of like, I don't want to say crazy people, but it's a fantastic experience. Here's a little clip just to give you an idea of what the dunes is like. Um, just dirt bikes. It's like Mad Max, you know. There's no like real explanation of it, and it's super fun. We went riding a lot, and then let's see. I have another clip in here. You see these things right here. These things are called Polaris razors. If the video will load, these are Polaris razors, and see all these ruts. These ruts are super bad for dirt bikes, or not dirt bikes, four wheelers. At least in my opinion. I'm not like a very experienced four wheeler person. I've always ridden a razor until we sold it. But what those razors do is they cause this like these crazy ruts, and the ruts just make you like shake the entire time. But it was so much fun. We had a blast, you know. We're playing and we're chilling out. And you know, I had a GoPro. I was filming the entire trip, and you know, we were just chilling, having a good time. We stayed there. We rode Friday, Saturday, and then we left Sunday. But we got down there on Thursday. So we rode all Saturday. We rode all Sunday. Actually, not really. We rode like twice on Sunday, but we just like chilled and had a good time. But funny story here. It was on the last day, on Saturday night. It was about, I don't know, 7 p.m. The sun was going to go down at 8. Us and our group were like, hey, let's go see the sunset. My dad was like, cool, let's do that. But before, my dad was like, you want to fly your drone? Because we brought down my drone. I have like a $500 AEE AP10 drone. I'll show you guys real quick. This is the drone I had. Images right here. I don't believe this is illegal to do, but yeah, I had a drone like this, but it had like a little GoPro mount. It didn't have this fancy camera here. And my dad hates when I say this, but it's not like the greatest drone in the world. It's not like a DJI or anything, but I brought it, I flew it, I had my GoPro on there. After the entire trip of me recording all my four-wheeler adventures, just going around the dunes and stuff, we had a drone, and I kid you not, we lost it. And it's like, what? How'd you lose it? Well, let me set the scene. So the sun was starting to go down a little bit. We were at our campsite. My dad's like, let's go fly the drone. I was like, okay, let's do it. So we get up, and then where our campsite is, there's like rows. There's like 3 rows, and then you just put like your campers in the middle of those rows. Well, we were like in the middle row, so we got up, and then above us are these power lines, and we're like, huh, that sucks. Let's not fly it by the power line. So we walk over, and there's like this little area that's like close to the dunes, but you can't cross this fence. It's like a big fence, and if you cross the fence, you get fined, you get ticketed, and it's like, that's a no-no. Don't do that. Oh man. But we walk over close to the fence. I sent up the drone. I sent it out to the dunes, and I was like, whoa, that's super cool. And then I couldn't see the footage all trip. I was trying to connect my phone to my GoPro, but I couldn't like watch the GoPro, you know, because it just wouldn't connect. So maybe that was like sign number 1 of I shouldn't be flying this out right now. But I flew it up. Flew it over to the dunes. Went really, really far, and I swung it around, brought it back my way. And then we brought it back, and I was like, cool. My dad's like, okay, go up and down through the campsites. And I'm like, all right, I really don't care. I don't want to film the campsites because I don't think they're cool at all, and it's kind of weird to think. But what happened was I sent it over, and it was like, I don't know, it was higher than like a street pole, if you think. Maybe a little higher, even higher than that. And I flew it over him, and I was like, get it lower. So I was like, all right, let me drop it down. I dropped it down, and it kept going. And it was about 150 yards, maybe like a football field, 2 football fields even. My parents are dropping stuff down my stairs. But it was like 200 yards away, maybe 150 yards. And it was crazy, dude, because we were watching it the entire time. I got a little smaller, and I was turning it around. I'm not kidding you not. I was turning it around, and I was bringing it our way. Here's a little caveat with my drone, real quick, is whenever I was flying it, the way I have my GoPro mounted, I have it GoPro mounted on the back and not the front, because the front had a gimbal on it, but the gimbal was broke. The gimbal just straight up did not work ever. So I was like, all right, I unplugged the gimbal because every time you plug it up, the gimbal will just shake uncontrollably. And I was like, all right, that sucks. I'm not going to use that. So I just unplugged the gimbal. I attached the GoPro to the battery in the back so it could still fly, and it flew fine. But my forward was really my backwards because I needed to control it with the camera being in the front. So we did that. And so, anyways, when we were flying it, it was going, it's going, it's going. I was turning it around. My dad's like, "Where'd it go, Trevor?" And I'm like, I see it, and then I blinked. I kid you not, I blinked, and that drone was gone. I couldn't find it. I couldn't see it. And that, it wasn't even far enough that, like, it's not like a plane where when it flies away, you don't see it anymore. It was like, I could see the campsite on the other end, and I was like right over that, but the drone just disappeared. I had no clue where it went. It like went behind a pole and then it just disappeared. I couldn't see it anymore. So my dad's like, "Where'd it go?" And I was like, I don't know. Shouldn't you have been watching it too?" And I was like, "Okay." So I walk all the way down to the campsite, and I'm like looking around, looking up in the air. And of course, at the exact same time as me losing my drone, everyone and their mother was like, "Oh, let me fly my drone." So there's a campsite over to the left of us. There's a campsite in front of us. They're both sending their DJI drones, their rich drones. And they sent them up, flew them across, and it was like, all right, thanks. Now I can't find my drone. So about 30 minutes goes down. The sun's going down even lower. We can't really see. And I hop on my four-wheeler. I go around literally every single campsite. And I was like, "Have you guys happened to see a drone fly by?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, I saw a drone over there." Sorry, that wasn't my drone. That was the people that were flying their drones earlier, in spite of me losing my drone. So thanks. Shout out to those guys. Really cool guys that were flying their drones, but you did not have to be flying it whenever I lost my drone. And this is just me being selfish, a little selfish person. But dude, it was like, what kind of timing is that? So I literally went around every campsite. People were like, "No." People were like, "Get away. I don't want corona." And I was like, okay, that's profiling. But they didn't really say that. That didn't happen. But yeah, long story short, I lost my drone and my GoPro with all the footage of my trip on there. And I was extremely depressed after that. I didn't even get my final ride, dude. You know, like the thing about the dunes is sometimes it's like, okay, this is your final ride. You know, you're done riding for the time. And then this could be my final ride for a long time because I'm about to go off to college, you know. And my dad's selling off all the stuff, all the four-wheelers, all the campers, everything, you know. And yeah, I mean, he already sold my Razor, so I was riding his bike and he was riding someone else's bike. But yeah, we went out there and we had a good time. Since the sun went down, we weren't able to go on our final ride, and my dad was like, "Let's not do a night ride because it's too dark, you can't see anything," which is true. Let alone we didn't have our normal group. We usually have like a group of 22 people, and we all go ride and stuff. And people hold each other accountable. If you lose someone, they'll go find each other. It's a great experience. I would definitely say if you guys have never been to the dunes and you really want to try something different, go to the dunes. I have so many vlogs on my channel. Go check them out. I gotta give a little quick plug real quick. But yeah, so basically, I lost my drone. It went to a different dimension. My dad and I were talking about that the entire time we were going home. And it was like, where in the world would that drone go? And right after we lost the drone, I looked it up and I was like, okay, this drone has 3 options. 1, the battery died and then it kept sailing and then it crashed somewhere. It could have been crashed across the highway. It could be crashed in Oklahoma, in Arkansas, for all I know. I'm just kidding. But like, holy cow, that thing just disappeared. We didn't know where it went. The second thing is it could have returned to where initially took off at. So we just watched. We waited for it to come back, and it just never came back. It was like waiting for Superman, you know. And then the third option was that it died and just crashed. And it was like, okay, well, I literally went around even at nighttime because you would think it has running lights. And it was like, okay, that's cool. I couldn't find it, man. We even contracted. Some little kid was like, "What are you looking for?" I was like, "A drone." He was like, "Oh, I'll help you find it." I was like, "Oh, thanks, little buddy." And yeah, we still couldn't find the drone. So yeah, now I'm out $800 because I lost a brand new GoPro and a drone. But you know, I can now spend less money than that and get a better drone and a better GoPro because GoPro's not having a sale where you can get a Hero 8 Black for I believe $300, which is pretty good because it was like $400 or whatever brand new. So I can get that, and then a DJI Maverick, man, that's $300 too. boom, right there, $600. I got myself a new drone and a GoPro. So I don't know. Is this a good thing? No. Is it a bad thing? Yes. Long story short, don't fly your drone when you're near Area 51. I was nowhere near Area 51, but don't fly your drone. But yeah, that was super depressing. So I lost my entire trip's footage. I promised my broadcasting teacher that I'd make a really sick vlog after this trip, and that's not going to happen anymore. So I apologize. I sincerely apologize, Miss Higgins, because my idiocy, my is that a word? I don't know. Me being stupid and not knowing how to fly a drone, I guess, just made me lose my drone. So I lost my drone, my GoPro footage, my GoPro, and that's just game over, man. Worst part is that GoPro was my mom. She bought it for a trip to Iceland she went on like last year, and she's like, I'm not going to use this anymore. And I was like, I'll take your GoPro because I love my GoPro. And then yeah, we lost it. And then what hurts me the most is whenever I was trying to figure out how to connect my phone to my GoPro, someone said, oh, put in a new card and format it, right? So I put in a brand new SD card, right? Like a fresh like SD card in there. And then I formatted it, and then I still couldn't connect to it. So I was like, okay, that sucks. I'll just put it on the card that has all my other footage on it. So I switched it out. Then that's exactly whenever I lost my drone. If I was smart enough, I would have been like, there's a good chance I lose this drone this time. So I could just keep this card clean that has all my footage on it, and then we just won't like think about it anymore. But it happens. I honestly, I think I would have rather lost the drone in the dunes, like actually in the dunes, than at a campsite right next to the dunes. Because if that was the case, you can go find a drone in sand. That's not too hard. But whenever you're having to cross highways and you're having to cross like people camping and living, that's when stuff gets a little tough. So yeah, in the end, I lost my drone, I lost my GoPro. I didn't get a final ride. My final ride consisted of me going up a couple dunes and taking pictures of people, feeling like a complete creep. But I'm just a journalist, man, so I guess the creepy nature comes out of it. But yeah, that was my trip to the dunes. I had a good time. I'm glad I got to stretch my legs. Now I have to catch up on homework. Kind of ridiculous. On the bright side, the stay-at-home order for Liberty, Missouri, or Clay County, I guess, is now May 3rd. So I can not stay at home and be ordered to anymore. And yeah, hopefully we can just keep chilling and keep living life. So tomorrow might be a special episode depending on if I'm able to secure my guest being my old tennis coach, or my coach that was my coach for a little bit, but because of Corona wasn't being able to be my coach the rest of the year, which is very sad. But I also have the sports broadcast, or the esports broadcast, tomorrow at 11. Go check it out. Twitch.tv/WarEagleLNHS. Something like that. I don't know. I'll link it in the description. But yeah, that was today's episode of TREVANTINE. This is going to be the way it is for at least the next week, hopefully, until there's another big spike of coronavirus. So yeah, keep washing your hands, stay safe, and until next time, I will catch you on the north side.